Hi, I'm Holly, I'm a writer, and I previously used Reedsy to write my books and do all of my planning and stuff like that, and I'll get into showing that soon. But basically, Reedsy a year ago-ish, when I started writing my first book and I realised that I needed somewhere to keep all of my notes that was nice and organised, ideally somewhere where I could also easily access my actual, like, the writing that I was doing for the novel itself. And, you know, when you kind of don't have that much experience of writing software and you don't really have the money to decide, this is my first book, let me just pay 80 quid for a year for Microsoft Word, it really leaves you with fewer options than you would expect if you want something that's more complex than Google Docs. Now, basically what happened is Reedsy was free. When I started using it, it was free. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I could do planning as well as the actual writing in the same place, one click away at all times from my notes if I needed them, and it was great. And I really enjoyed using it. And then about 2 or so weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer, I think it was this month, to my knowledge, that it happened. They made it so that you have to pay to access the planning features. Now, that in itself isn't necessarily awful because I still believe that the writing feature is very helpful. However, it isn't the best when your whole purpose in choosing a writing software was so that you didn't have to have all of your things spread over about 1 million different apps, taking up all of the different sort of storage options that you have for those apps. So I had to move all of my notes, and I originally moved them to Google Docs. But it gets very clogged up very quickly. Even when you sort of organize it as perfectly as you possibly can, you end up with at least 2 documents. And they get really slow the more words that you put in a document. So rather than just living with that and kind of hoping for the best, I decided to do the very writerly thing and invest in an actually decent piece of software where I could do both my planning and my writing. And I decided to use Scrivener. Now, Scrivener I have tried before. They do a free trial, and it's only, and this is a big selling point for me, it's £50 basically forever. Like, you pay a one-time payment and then it's yours and you have all of these features. And with the new Reedsy payment, I think it was about £8 a month, which means that you are paying about the same amount for Reedsy as you would be for Word. And I think that there are a lot of writing places where it's the same sort of thing, where it's like £8 a month-ish for a subscription. And rather than paying a subscription, I liked that Reedsy for me, it was good because of that not being a thing, right? Like, I really liked when I started it that I didn't have to worry about paying money every month to use this app and have these features. And so I was hoping that I would find something like that. I didn't enjoy Scrivener when I used the free trial, which was a little bit frustrating because I had a really long search. Like, I looked at every potential writing app. I went onto a bunch of writing lists written by writers, for writers, all that sort of stuff, to try and see what my options were. And the only one that I could find that was a one-time payment was Scrivener. So I paid the price for it. Literally, I paid the £55 cost of it. I did have actually a discount code, but I couldn't, the website was being weird when I went on to do it, so I did it from the free trial that I had, which I couldn't see the option to do a discount there. So I didn't use the discount that I had, which is, but it's fine. It's fine. Not at all annoying, but I think that so far I've not put all of my notes from all of my stories on there, and I haven't really had a proper writing session on Scrivener, but I have started to move all of my notes over and figure out basically how I want it to be set up, because you can personalize it quite a lot. And it's definitely a learning curve. I've seen a lot of people say that when you learn Scrivener, it's like the best thing ever, but it takes a while to get there. And I agree with that. I think that so far, the thing that put me off during the trial was the fact that it was so complicated to use. As someone who didn't find it super intuitive, like, I'm not against having to look up tutorials, but I think when you have to look up a tutorial to figure out how to get a very basic thing that is like a single click away in other platforms, it does feel a bit overwhelming. And so I kind of noped out of it twice, actually. But I've stuck with it now, which was part of the reason why I bought it rather than just using up the rest of my trial, because I'd not finished up that. But yeah, I'm finding it a little bit easier now that I'm actually doing it. And I thought I would set up on camera, kind of. Obviously there's stuff that I didn't get on camera. Funnily enough, I did like a whole intro already before I started setting it up. And then I accidentally had the wrong camera option, so it was recording the wrong thing. But yeah, I think basically what I have is I have Formation Lap, and that is a trilogy. I think I've talked about this before. Formation Lap is a trilogy. The first book is being queried, but the second book I actually would like to write this year because it's a book that I think is going to be more interesting than the first one, which, you know, not that the first one isn't interesting, just that the second one is the one where the progression of events is like in full swing. So rather than it being like slow introduction to this world, it's like, oh, so you think you know what's going on, which is going to be exciting, I think, to write more than necessarily the first one was, especially because I get to develop a character that I really like in this one. I actually get to develop a few characters that I really like in this one. So, you know, it's interesting to continue this world and to deepen it even further. I think that's why it's more exciting to me as the writer. So I'm adding all of the notes for that series in. I'm going to keep them all in one document because when it's been fully written and edited, the second one, I can put it onto a Google Doc. Like, I don't have a problem with putting them as a Google Doc. I just have a problem specifically with the notes and the drafts and all of that being on the Google Doc, on like separate docs. So all of it's going to be in one place for now on Scrivener, and I'll show you that. I also have a new book that I have been working on, an idea. I'm not going to be writing that for a while. I have a bit of research that I want to do before I even start that. And also, it's a book that I will want to write this year, I think, but it's going to be after Project H, which I have named officially Halcyon, by the way. But basically, I think that I'm going to put my Project H notes, my Formula One series as a whole notes all on there. The stuff that I've written so far for the second book, all of that's going to be in its own document. And then this new one that I'm calling Project Vampire, which I'd actually put all of my notes on already for, but I hadn't done that when I originally filmed this intro. So I also have, and this is really interesting, I've put like my editorial notes, which I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you that right now, actually. But yeah, I'm gonna show you what I've done so far. And then I think I'll show the process of me doing it, because I also have some more notes to put in. So yeah. So I am gonna just get into it. I'm gonna keep putting all of my notes in, and then I think I'll show you my Formation Lap like notes, because obviously that book's already been written, so there's not any like huge spoilers there. Like, I know what is spoilers and what isn't for that. Whereas with the other books, most of it is spoilers because I haven't spoken as much about them. So yeah, let's get into that. officially finished moving everything over, and I've been using Scrivener for a little while, which I thought I would just basically try to see if I actually enjoyed using it before I finish this video, rather than just simply moving everything over. And it's still definitely a learning process. There are things that I'm not super happy with. There are things that I have already changed from the way that I was setting it up already. And so I can imagine that the more that I use it, the more I'll figure out how I like things and what these features do, what they mean. But it, you know, for the cost, specifically for the fact that it is a one-time payment and that it is less than £100, which, when you consider that that is a lifetime payment, that's pretty good for a writing software. And it's a writing software that seems to be quite comprehensive. I don't like the templates that they give, I'll say that much. I think that it is much better for me, and possibly for other people who've been intimidated by Scrivener, to just go onto a blank document and play around with what you like and what you think is going to be helpful. I don't like the idea of separating my stories into scenes. Chapters, yes. Scenes, no. I think that's too much. I like to be able to see the whole chapter. Regardless, especially because I think that, you know, there are some of mine, I'm a long chapter person. The idea of not knowing what the flow of the chapter is like because it's split into scenes, that seems like a bit of a danger to me. So I have like figured it out on my own. I've not followed any of their tutorials. I haven't really been online except to clarify how to like get this thing or this thing to do what I want. But I think that it is a much better tool than I had assumed when I did my free trial, which is partially because I don't think I was giving it a real go. I think I was afraid of committing to it and whatnot, especially because I hadn't purchased it, so if I changed my mind I would have to buy it. I think basically I wasn't being very open with my exploration of this new software, and then I bought it and I had to be open because I had spent money on it, and so I am enjoying it now. I think that it is definitely as good as people say, and I'm happy that I've made the change because I don't have to worry now about payments and, you know, spending money every month just so that I can have a planning feature. The only thing that's slightly frustrating is that I can't access my notes from my phone or like my iPad or anything, so if I'm just like, did I put that detail in? I can't check. But I think that's also something that I want to work on, and I might do a video where I want to start reducing the amount of instant gratification that I have, especially as a writer. I think that there are a lot of ways in which immediately beginning to write a new project just because the idea is in my mind is something that I maybe shouldn't be doing because it historically hasn't worked out very well for me. So I think that I might do a video where I kind of try and live a slower life, shall we say that, because I think I want to start doing more writing in places that aren't this same desk and that aren't on this same computer, and to basically be aware of the fact that I'm not always going to have the perfect situation to write, but learn how to write anyway. And rather than trying not to be bored or whatever, to just do the slow stuff, do the slow momentum that ends up with gratification that is much better and longer lasting than the instant stuff. And I feel like that all sounds very nonsensical, like it doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but it makes sense to me. Like what I'm saying is it's something that I've thought before, and I think that this is one of those things where I was expecting to like a software straight away because I've done that before, and in the end this software that I'm still not fully warmed up to could end up being my ride or die. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it so far, but also it is a definite learning curve. You don't go into it thinking it's gonna be easy. And yeah, bye.